Hello everyone, welcome back. Let's talk about Deuteronomy chapter 19 in 5 minutes. And I do really hope that it is in 5 minutes. I have to apologize. Some of the previous chapters we've run long on 7 minutes. There was even an 8-minute one in there. And that's not my intention. I do want these to be 5 minutes. I'm just trying my best to try to find a balance between giving a good, somewhat comprehensive summary and being too short and unuseful. So that balance is hard to strike. But let's try to keep them at 5 minutes. I think we can get a lot done in that time if I stick to my notes. So that'll be the task. If you want these notes, they're free on our website at tobelikechrist.com. Link in the description. When did Deuteronomy 19, the events that are talked about here, happen? This was about 1450 BC, 1450 years before Jesus was born. That then takes us to our characters section. The Israelites are our first group of people that we're going to talk about. They're also known as the Hebrews. They're a large nation of people at this point that came out of Egyptian slavery, spent some time in the wilderness, and now they're going to Canaan, which is the land that God promised to give them. Moses, who is their leader, selected by God. And then we're going to talk about manslayers, which is kind of a strange category of people, but this is somebody who accidentally killed another person. And I'll explain that more in our outline section. We now go to the bottom of our first page to our map, and the Israelites and Moses are located in Moab when these events occurred. Moses is talking to the Israelites before they go into the land of Canaan. That was at Moab near Mount Pisgah. In our first section, verses 1 through 13, we're going to talk about something that we've actually talked about before, I believe in the book of Numbers and earlier in the book of Deuteronomy, and that is cities of refuge. So when the Israelites conquered the land that was west of Jordan, which they were just about to do, they were to establish 3 more cities of refuge in addition to the 3 that had already been established on the east side of the Jordan River. You can read about those in chapter 4, verse 41 through 43. Now, the cities were supposed to be evenly spaced throughout the Israelites' land, giving people easy access to them no matter where they were. These cities were designed, they were called cities of refuge because they were designed to offer protection to anyone who accidentally killed another person, which we call, in our terminology, manslaughter. These cities were not designed to protect murderers. If a murderer showed up in one of these cities of refuge, the elders of that city were required to arrest him and then bring him to justice. So this is only if you accidentally killed another person without hatred towards that person in your heart. God also gave a provision for what was to happen if the land that the Israelites conquered expanded. There were supposed to be 3 additional cities of refuge that were going to be set up if the territory of the Israelites expanded sometime in the future. Our next section is actually only one verse. It's verse 14, property protection and landmarks. So Israelites were forbidden from moving their neighbor's landmark. Now, they use the word landmark a little bit differently than we do. This landmark was something that marked the edge of a person's property. Today we would use a fence, right? But they might use a row of stones or a hill of dirt or something like that. And Israelites were forbidden from moving the markers of their neighbor's property. You can understand why. Maybe a stealthy, a dishonest neighbor might try to move his neighbor's landmark a few feet to expand his own property a little bit. And then finally, in our last section, verses 15 through 21, we expand on something we talked about, I believe it was in the last chapter, witness requirements for conviction. So at least 2 witnesses were required to convict somebody of a crime. And this protected people against false accusations. In fact, this text tells us that if a malicious person tried to falsely accuse their neighbor of a crime and they were caught in that lie, then the punishment that they were trying to impose on their neighbor was to be imposed on them. So it's a very serious thing to falsely accuse somebody of a crime. Maybe we need more of that in our legal system. Now, that's not our application. Let's talk about an application today from this idea of these landmarks. What does it look like to move your neighbor's landmark today? And we're not necessarily just talking about stealing a little bit of their property. It could be that, but it looks like cheating your way through life in the little things, wherever you think you can get away with it or you won't get caught, and that you can get some kind of advantage from doing this small dishonesty, right? And I think a text like this shows us that God notices these small dishonesties, and you can be assured that whatever advantage you think you're getting by doing this, God is taking account of your actions, and justice is going to be done in the end. So it's not worth it. Whatever you think you're getting out of this is going to benefit you. is going to harm you in the end. So application, be honest in your daily life, even in the small things, because although man doesn't see everything, God sees everything.